Are you all good?
Yeah. Alright. Alright, sorry. Sound really takes a while.
It's recording all day. Okay. Plea bargain is a criminal justice system. The criminal justice system is a modern plantation. Plea bargain undergirds the transformation of chattel slavery and lack of dissent. Diversity manifesting mandatory minimums, prison industrial complex. Hunter, seeing southern slavery to figure the possible all kind of creative philosophers like became the before topic conduct who dehumanized and overtime to I know how to innocent a slave by beta of not to be accused, but to be convicted of it was out of court justice for utilitarian restoration rule of an order responsible how the plantation versus social service dominated versus the CGS police system and traveling towards being practiced racial domination from previous has been said by the prosecutor over the amount of debate on the side which the case of principal prosecutors were running in a strictly profoundly roots of criminal justice is case more than 95% of high up and standard or how developing conviction, the value mandatory minimum sentence license badge workmanship given no way perfectly the regime fears divorce from coupling information sentences and schemes and racial subject charging people color are unlikely to feel different distinguished equal exchange for domination. Best and most recent statistics prove that plea bargain unquestionably discriminatory controls black incarceration criminalization for who was 17. White defendants are 45% more black child charge or discharge reduction may live possibility convictions events not before person look like you misdemeanor charges carrying potential imprisonment drop this creates lower evidence standard for high rates of wrong convictions in these cases. Individuals can be labeled as criminal white defendants felony charge drop for men misdemeanor charge 14% or often plea bargain is procedural entrapment that sustains mass incarceration. The unreviewable power of the prosecutor serves bodies of right and sediments racial domination. Heiner 2. For criminal defendant color common went to racial right to combat those often permanent penalty may be distinct for antebellum function also logic racial domination plea regime and that's recognized mass incarceration without the forfeiture rights of plea bargain regime manufactured CGS and operates vast number of people of color, death, incision, trauma, social death, and million prosecutor functional and all like irresponsible power of administrative plantation law, both enforced and reinscribed the terms of racial contract prosecutors, discretion, non-accountable, and close to the intricate mechanics of misdemeanor rape process, racialized crime, and more black holes, criminals, absent the presumption of innocence, prioritizing efficiency over truth creates a stereotype of the black offender and constant mass incarceration, not above 12. The misdemeanor process for step in racialization, crime, conviction, child-rape, young black men, petty conviction, liberal criminal, and the police stages as well, misdemeanor wrapped in the concrete mechanism by which the system enables general criminal based on rights on history to evidence to requirement the politically deserved black access and legal help, and the hard lies of working substitution for black men are probably good to process of prison, guilty, chiefly as possible, higher rate of investigating innocent police and power transfer of black men, petty criminal for process happens, seats to defense evidence and process do not matter, but involved in trade to accept conviction and haggle that misdemeanor get with a key entrepreneur race comes to destroy the main penal system, plan text out. Supreme Court of the United States and next will test case out to rule the practice of plea bargain unconstitutional on the basis that violates the contract analysis established in David Russell, Cruz 93 summarizes. Court says Russell now say overturn prosecutor discretion that was open to racial impact and discretion may just impact racial minority. The court concludes impact substantial the racial minority. The court could subject action to substantive contraction and also the court might invalidate plea bargain close to create a substantially disruptive impact. The court might decide prosecutor discretion regarding plea bargain violates contraction guarantees crash. The system led its ruthless efficiency collapse under its own weight. That caused a wide scale restructuring in CGS Alexander 12. What would happen if thousands of free school and tested all basic paper for open majority theory of building presses his and shows by exercise and rights yes incarceration and cooperation with everyone to suddenly exercise rights with great case from forcing technology and post major check. The back criminal case about for example, action credit crisis the system got no longer function protest, though it forwards a public conversation with potential by the justice system only works only so long as we accept its terms absent plea bargain. The politics of carceral become unsustainable. That opens up the space for decriminalization which within the contradiction of law. Heiner 3. Credit crisis by substance control for side compare racial justice assertion of over liberty mass incarceration price support company to take cash for reparation justice discussing this is 750,000 legal teacher equivalent to Birmingham decision about law enforcement necessity statute police mass assertion with widespread debts of legitimacy of statutes potentiality of force reform direction decriminalization widespread assertion would expose more legitimacy mass incarceration cut the card at mass incarceration skip the next card Davis Preston laws judicial race and go and check Russell analysis opens the floodgates to challenge discriminatory policies Cruz 93 in court for you also the court determines that it proves sufficient to stop the terms of requirement in time for close to change on the policies of requirement inhibits protections from the courts apply the rest of the so it's going to be far-reaching defense attorney race protections on nearly every stage of criminal process framing in this round should be centered on mass incarceration ethics and the age of the prison industrial complex where I have stands against his specific crimes Roberts 4. Imprisonment built on distortion of social and commercial and divergent intentions or houses or passive political effect to cause the moral way to move as opposed to most great more present minds racial person say which you or high conversion moral question person and measure moral way of life consequence make the action in the capable incarceration more legal requirement a sorts of real passive function contrary external research will underscore the urgency wrestling question for prisons will rate most Americans and justice app should be able to drop the debate or competing to no RFI unfairness is better credit there are no offenses there interest in that morning or cannot read more than two shall say point shows a piece of aspect rather than neck notice what an issue on theorem and sci-fi street of characterization before one error scores for some have to justify paradigm issues one error less enacted and systemly spread out that and drop their reasonability which is that and to get away from the abuse also makes here too much of time since after from investment paradigm issues that hedging against time advantage SCOTUS decides within a week how they vote in cases SCOTUS logged no date the court hears oral arguments later the week's justice hold the private conference or which given the case justice draft and circulated and then time depends on the court schedule state prison population decrease federal prison population remains the same pedestal population state currency decrease the drop was first in 1972 national cards and less than 1% it's urgent to change how we evaluate risk modern debate address our minority participation by ignoring the question of systemic violence in favor of high magnitude dissads that can be a sign of risk of zero on FaceCon 13 the wrong modern debate on violence is understand but needs to establish the impacts of much white folks like nuclear war damning type manure every coast plan to specificity Toronto epistemological question introduce an argument so 100% you have to disprove tough to refute down to zero dissad or been disagreed assumption each could be contested by that only handful or tough to bring that to zero the burden of proof it is associated an argument instead of 100% if you're superior to evidence against this 100% most card making definitive claims because the card definitive claims institutional structure domination create everyday Holocaust you should protect singular focus impact in favor of working against ongoing extinctions of people of color only not these advocates are constant war being waged to people of color want people of color if you're being short difficult perspective victims of killing couldn't cover major danger of human life movement goes never easily co-opted by world leaders who share the same cultural racial dominance. That argument on racial dominance.
Sorry, occasionally which card you cut?
Only 89.
There are a couple of other cut cards.
Oh yeah, do you want the other cards that I cut as well? Do you?
Oh yeah, sure. It's like, I think it's one of the cards.
Sure, cone cut it, don't make definitive claims.
Okay.
And
Cut a card out with the advantage.
there's the third hang card was also.
Oh yeah, good. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
What's the word behind the cone 13 card?
The warrant behind the cone 13 card is that debate is taken on realistic analysis of risk. Dissads are underpinned by a ton of discrete assumptions which are impossible to contest through the round, but if all were contested it would bring the probability down to zero. The assumption of the affirmative needs to reduce the probability sufficiently to make it irrelevant is flawed because it ignores the way that our epistemology frames high impact risks in order to make them seem more probable than that.
Okay. Let's talk about this solvency. It's talking about the Richard 17 card. Why?
I didn't read that card.
Oh, sorry. Davis Preston. The Cruise 93 card. Why would the Davis Preston be overruled by this Russell analysis? Like, does the card?
What?
Can you read me aloud?
There are two conflicting precedents.
Okay. Wait, so why does overrule?
Cruz talks about what would happen if the court adopted Russell analysis over Davis precedent.
Okay. On the advantage, the Native-Hoff 12 card. Why is misdemeanors uniquely key?
I don't know if they're uniquely key, but it's rather a question of how the criminal justice system processes people. For example, criminal cases are still important, but misdemeanors are ones where people are easily coerced into accepting guilt, which marks them criminals for the rest of their lives, because we prioritize efficiency over determining if there's a factual basis for guilt in the first place.
Okay. What's the warrant behind the Alexander 12 card? Why would, can you read me, like, what's the warrants behind why there would actually be wide scale change? Like, just as chaos would happen, but like.
The wide scale change would probably be more warranted by Heinrich than Alexander. Alexander's.
I thought you didn't read the Heiner card.
No, I cut that card.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's the warrant behind the Heiner card still?
What?
What's the warrant behind the Heiner card still?
The Heiner card, it said it would be impossible to cope with a 30 times increase in resources required. For example, judges, court reporters, bailiffs, courtrooms, prisons, etc. So
Why does that justify reform?
in order to cope with it, they'd either have to choose to prosecute less people, which is a good thing, or implement reforms such as decriminalization of drugs, which would also be a good thing, lead to less people being prosecuted. The act doesn't rely on winning a reform claim to solve for the impacts.
Okay. For the B point on this 1 AR recourse argument, why does Like, why would the ability for Twitter to collapse not be outweighed by this minor recourse argument?
Because you have 6 minutes to dump on whatever paradigm issue you want.
Okay. So just to clarify, the SCOTUS card just says like and would eventually be ruled within a week, so like just grant dissent.
Sorry?
The SCOTUS card says
I want to use time frame to delink from dissents.
Wait, what?
Are you asking about?
Well, you'll have to have a plan for the purpose of dissent links, right?
Yeah, I don't think in real life the test case would be immediate, but I won't delink from dissents basically.
Okay.
They
Cool.
have happened.
Alright, cool. I'll take that. Be 14 left. I'll send out the see. Oh, there's going to be 3 off case. Should be sent from the if you all got it.
Sorry, my internet's.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I'm gonna switch Wi-Fi's.
That's cool.
Sorry about this, my email just
Fine.
not loaded. Right, I can access my email, but I don't have an email.
Did everyone else get it? Okay. Probably should stop there. Good refresh.
Let me see if I got it on my phone.
Reopening your email.
Don't have it on my phone either.
I'll resend it again.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be very strange. Just left out.
It says he got it on my email.
Yeah, it says that on mine too.
Yeah.
You elected the right email.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming you have the rest of it.
Yeah, I wonder-
Flash drive.
Okay, I just lost internet now, so I need to log into Wi-Fi and then send it. And hopefully we're all good.
Sorry about this.
Yeah, no worries. Right. Should be sent.
Make sure if it's like sent into a
Oh, yeah. Wait, chat.
Oh, just got it.
Alright, good.
Isn't tech troubleshooting mostly the best part of the
Definitely.
Or we'll see this. Alright.
Just opening. Got it.
Yep. Is anyone not ready? First off is the midterm disadvantage. Jump scheme when we take out any change causes losses. Code 1120. Jumps about us being reduced to weight breaker and dash following the code environment and with the possibility of a weight flash and victory. 16 points could flip the house. With the margin of errors plus minus 80, so you cannot rule out remote control this margin of error. Make those assumptions results goes in 10, 20, 17. Either of these is not glad. If these elections full results fully consistent with the election what's supposed to be happening on off year election. And CDS reform is a bipartisan achievement. It's exactly what Trump needs. Hold in 17. Trump's reform has been one of the few areas Republicans, Democrats, and forward bipartisan consensus. Political politics, far right screws have called presumption reforms the essential step to making sure that every individual treated fairly rather than given prosecutor's agenda. There were both broad bipartisan support for self-sentencing focus bills like last Congress, such as the 2010 Fair Sentencing Act, which sections co-sponsored. These reforms would have a prevent another society and Democrats level of time answering to the constitutional favors of such reform. Doing so would be a critical with the GOP Congress take up reform. It will be a sign that they are willing to improve people's lives. And Democrat support for Gorsuch is based off midterm 17. Just because some of the election states that swung towards Trump, I can't mention the White House's assertion that Gorsuch's private reform rights were not aimed at Trump, raising concern about his independence. And Gorsuch's nomination affects the entirety of Trump's agenda. Prisbila 17. Just as opposite to Gorsuch, just the indication of Dems who is solving the agenda. Gorsuch just the latest example of Dems are casting their opposition to Trump. Middle discovered Dems to high legislation or as we put nominee Senate is favoring corporations. And Trump gets impeached. If GOP gets wiped out, Republicans strategic occurs. Shelburne 1-4. Republicans try to argue that Trump will Republicans will not Trump to impeach him. If they get wiped out, they would require wipe out Dems would Dems lead for 24 years to take the House. And Trump enters global nuclear fallout from collapse of trade, democracy, leadership, the war on terror, and tactics of Iran and North Korea. Hathaway, Shapiro, 11-10. Trump's going to be coercive with destabilizing risk of authority the nuclear war. Another danger, direction, Trump's isolation will lead to global instability, the global war on terror. Applications for democracy to try to take give states. We impose one another without resorting to war. Giving up on trade means giving up on the impose, leaving with little choice but war. That Trump has been threatening to withdraw from free trade ways. He has been relying more heavily on the military. He has threatened to totally destroy North Korea. Refuses to certify the Iran nuclear base in his factor that the deal will break down in Trump will resort to military force against Iran. And Trump's case incarceration rates are up for the first time in 4 years under Trump in session. This also circumvents the act. Part 519. Trump paid a law and order in order to federal government subsidy guidance on move level increase incarceration merely money to his mission in the DOJ. Decided to reinstate the use of private federal incarceration. President instituted new executive actions. Which budgets increase funding for program. This is types of aggressive policy police practice that Trump was on the campaign trail that sort of heavily contributes to higher incarceration is resident for spending. Causes the mass incarceration situation. Just that's all the case. Democrats have put forward reform that leads to decarceration solve for the ass impacts. Second off. Counterpoint text, the Supreme Court of the 50 states and all relevant subfederal entities should uniformly rule that one rule of plea bargaining violates the Constitution and two mandate that all plea bargaining to be abolished. Solve better and is faster. Shepherd 6. Ruling authority possessed by state people authorize quicker actions across the party to subject the fighting the Supreme Court being out there a substantial number of states in which the authority of the Supreme Court is plenary. Authority has allowed many state courts to go beyond traditional rules and procedure and causes policy shifts. We'll have 7. Quick witness go on policy making including legislative bill introduction to dynamics legislators of institutional constraint adjusting behavior that we have intelligence to Supreme Court the courts document state legislative behavior state Supreme Courts constraint or legislative policy making court preemptively limit the number of law enacted and CP solves better in his model Johnson 15. The national and state government share authorities state actors and subject federal constraint federal courts state define and protect rights are duly protected by state constitution. The state system serves as a model for other states and federal courts. Federal leaders qualifies an instructive example of rights dependent on state and federal rulings promise on the same basis. Advocates prior to state courts who would want state and persuade the Supreme Court state courts interpret the Constitution to provide independent, stronger, protected state courts rule in advance of the Supreme Court actions the federal president requires courts exercise greater independence and affords greater potential to enforce federal courts as well as other states. Third off. Consider the policy proposals to rapidly expand the judiciary have so far been rejected by both. As the proposal was even withdrawn due to political backlash. So in 17, the critical call on BC rights for massive expansion of the federal judiciary, the largest in decades. One of the reasons why Copy's proposal to the Congress is that he is a co-founder of the Federal Society, but commentators do not assume that the proposal has monolithic support from the right. While recent proposals far from university supported by Federal Society's members or by conservative and libertarian lawyers and scholars, the paper discussed has been removed in order to make some revisions in light of the extensive comment generated. And it collapses the judicial system exactly what a court packing policy needs to gain steam is a justification that already decided by the drafters and has been historically supported by both parties. The court plug is real. Schugerman 17 was Roman President judicial workload cases have reached our present level. They radicalized bombers or plan has never resisted. They have been shifting their argument to what about Jimmy Carter's court back in the past of the 1970s. Like the use case only increase in 1970s of the crisis in the late 1930s actually was a workload crisis and Congress funded with the bipartisan the statute was not a bipartisan or power play. In the Senate, the measure passed by voice vote, which discussed that it wasn't highly contested. Trump would waste no time building the courts up with conservative fix out without opposing plain 17. Trump knows how is wasting no time by playing vacancies. Senate Republicans are raising nominees through the confirmation cabinet proposed to pack the federal courts with 447 judicial positions increased by 50%. The effect on civil rights and liberties would be signing would roll back judicial diversity and a dramatic rise in criminal court cases actively shapes up into proceedings in civil court, PPAW 12. Federal judges are required to get party to criminal cases over civil one judges are forced to delay civil cases often because it means long delays for American seeking justice and distribution of civil rights operated in favor of many plaintiffs are forced to inadequate settlements, business are pressured because of the settlements and the expense and uncertainty of litigation. And tell what if the others result in court backing just results in court club which kills legitimacy. Which kills court legitimacy, they can't function. Lee E12. Backlogs being justice delayed and protection rights, compensation, enforcement of law. Although they change that to reduce the quality of records, justice, and labor confidence, courts believe that full conscious rights and render fair decision, courts for people's life and whole business face uncertainty, causing hold-ups, and slowly growth causes conflict, is still issue under Trump turns the case. Foster 16. Which are just social duties and executive customer non-immigration to deal with as they develop since simple as by receiving solutions that are competition from the problem to minimize now in Bush, where more use more production, time rising inflation, unemployment, American subs, selective leader who will be a short good fellow among the president and active sisters and model would predict that a president with Trump suffers with responsibility even minor economic doctrine with an increase in the use of force. Next on case. Ethical policy making requires that complication of consequences of arguments, not that racism is not an impact. It's obviously opposite, which is why we need a counterplan to which why we need a counterplan to solve their arguments, just that it is not the only impact. Lost step 5. Rallies by results on intention and policy making with the consequences of any action. Is a moral solution that minimize harm in the concrete time and place. Politics with us people and body without proposing a factual alternative to subsequent warlords to the depths of thousands as a result of holding out the most holding out for the most moral rather than finding a verbal compromise that could have avoided bloodshed. Body suffered greatly. Final summon was very close to the one initially condemned on moral grounds. And other quote 13. First of all, this is an argument for why prohibition be preferred over high magnitude impacts. It's also the app relies on some sort of a decent very little lead chain because they say that first the courts will have to crash and right because the plan passing, then the courts will have to expand. They will lead to a court crash that'll lead to vast reform mysteries. But there's still a decent legislative firm to be the decision should not be rejected by this this long lead to, but rather just a reason why probability comes for magnitude. Even then we still win. That both racism and high magnitude impacts should be considered just a reason why that if there's minimal offense on racism or low magnitude, high probability impact. There's a reason why you should vote on high probability on low probability high magnitude impact. Then 1 and next. Policymakers will decriminalize the crime that the falsified all their efforts, but how current policymakers are bad. How 5. Because of the bargains for ways of means all confident and feasible to decriminalize a large portion of the behavior really deep criminals at least equally extreme and best legislation man marginally stem. The criminal section the only remaining option imposed on money that several times over. And no mass public reform, private prison lobby makes decriminalization reform impossible and persuades policymakers to maintain the situation. Co 15. For Barclays going to spend nearly $25 million on lobby profits, companies and support policy to put more Americans in information behind RCC wrote the man for civil facilities services to be adversely affected by the leasing and conviction of parole standard and his practice to decriminalization of certain activities, risking demands for correctional facility based contracts require the government to keep the correctional facilities full. And turn, if course people arrested would be in pre-trial jail indefinitely, especially poor people and minorities who can't pay bail. And 15. The best board retains excuse more for the day where people sit behind hours busy can't come up with the cash for low income people. The consequences of pre-trial jail can be disasters that you're out of a job, fall behind and ready to go home to. Because of the public $50 billion annually, giving some people optimism that they will child agendas were linked to, but outcomes not just for defense but for society as a whole. Cut the card, society as a whole, and then nothing below it.
Okay. So just not that card under it.
Yeah. Everything else alright.
Ready?
Yeah.
First is the link, the Gorsuch stuff is that Gorsuch won't get confirmed by the Senate.
Wait, what?
The Gorsuch arguments, or is it that he won't get nominated?
No, we say that the court is tied to Trump because...
Wait, it says the card's about whether Gorsuch gets nominated. I'm confused on how.
It says
what's the function of the evidence?
It just says that Dem senators are tied to Gorsuch, right? So like.
Wait, what?
The Dem support for Gorsuch has yielded like widespread support, right? So if like the Supreme Court were to support like a policy, it would probably be tied to Trump more, right?
Wait, why? Okay, sure. Why is your card about criminal justice reform is about Trump working with Congress? Why does it link to courts?
Wait, what?
Like, how do Republicans claim credit for criminal justice reform passed by the courts?
That's the argument. That's like the two Gorsuch cards, right? It talks about how like
the two Gorsuch
has been seemingly tied to Trump, right?
Wait. So if Gorsuch is tied to Trump, how is it seen as bipartisan?
Wait, what?
If Gorsuch is tied to Trump, how is it seen as bipartisan, which is your link card?
We say the CGS reform is a bipartisan view.
Wait, but you said it's tied to Trump. Is it tied to Trump or is it bipartisan?
It's bipartisan. It's seen as tied to Trump, but it's a bipartisan move that's tied to Trump.
You say you have an impeachment card. Where do you show impeachment leads to removal from office, i.e. conviction in the Senate?
We would argue that right now the Senate is a lot more likely to impeach Trump.
Wait, why is the Senate likely to impeach Trump?
The Senate have sufficient seats right now.
No, there are 51 Republicans and 49 Dems, and you need 66. How did?
I'm like, you're free to make the argument in the 1AR.
No, I'm confused. Is there any internal link for why impeachment leads to Trump being removed from office?
We would argue that there are enough Republicans that would vote against Trump, that would vote for Trump's impeachment in the Senate.
Okay. Counter status of the counterclaim? Condo? Yeah. Okay, that's all I need. Cord packing, what's linked to slow growth?
The Leahy card's pretty good on this. It talks about how backlogs right now, like delayed businesses need to.
So Leahy, why is court legitimacy key to growth? It seems like you're missing an internal link.
The card in the Leahy card talks about how
Leahy card talks about businesses face uncertainty. Why does that lead to slow growth?
It's just preventing them from investing and creating jobs. That's
why is that enough? Why is that? Do you read any econ uniqueness evidence?
What do you mean, like econ's good now?
Yeah.
I mean, like the Foster 16 card is probably in a time.
No, the Foster 16 card is that from before Trump was elected.
And we would argue, like you read it on unique card, but I would argue that like even if the economy's not super great right now. Even
Wait,
like
so
an
where do you
increasing-
show
an
what's the
increasing
growth?
down, there's still
How much
probably
does
by
growth
diversionary war.
how much does growth have to slow down for Trump to cause diversionary war?
We would probably say, like, I can't give like an exact number. We would probably say like the app is enough.
Increments of 5%.
I'll probably say like 5%.
Okay, where do you show that the plan leads to a 5% decrease in growth?
We don't. That's like.
You don't show. Cool. No more crossing.
Alright.
Are there any impacts to the first dissent if it doesn't lead to Trump's removal?
Probably not.
Okay. And okay, that's good. Sorry, can you explain the Gorsuch argument again?
Okay, so the card talks about how Democrats have right now in states have been tentative, but like they say that Gorsuch has not been been making overt comment. Like Gorsuch has been tied to like the election that has been commenting on. He has not made any overtly bad remarks about Trump, which like raises concerns that he's probably tied for Trump.
Wait, so Gorsuch is tied to Trump?
Yeah, that's the implication of those two cards.
What's a warrant for federal follow-on? It says courts have followed on in some cases. Why does the athlete to follow on?
We argue that when the state courts rule on rights.
No, it says there have been instances where the federal courts.
Okay, it talks about how when these state courts rule on rights, these appeals are often taken up to the Supreme Court where the same decision is probably made, and that the Supreme
Wait,
Court will
so
have to make
how long
ruling
does
on
an
this.
appeal take?
We would argue that
We
argue that it would come in the next cycle, which would probably be like next year's November after the midterm elections.
Okay. Trump has, that's fine. Alright. 53. There's a dog.
Alright, yeah. I can use my stand if you want if the chair is like.
No, this is good.
What's the order?
Case order you wrote on.
Oh yeah, and then
Sorry, just what you want.
yeah, right, just like something.
Sorry. It's just not opening the reply page. Sorry. second a private. You didn't make a private person term, right?
Wait, what?
You didn't make a private person term.
I wrote the card.
All right, okay, cool.
What's the order?
What?
Is it just case, midterms,
Yeah.
state, case, midterm, states, court package?
Mhm. Everyone good? Mass incarceration, ethical evil, it breaks us the families of 100,000 black and brown males every year. It's an ethical evil that must be rejected. Half is able to solve it. They have no evidence that the courts would be able to handle a 30 times increase in the number of cases, even if there are enough judges or private persons. They can't handle a 30 times increase in court reporters, bailiffs, and courtrooms, etc., which means that it's impossible to solve it. It's Alexander Hyder evidence. There's also no evidence for reinvestment, even if there is a will to shrink in state and federal budgets, means that it's highly unlikely that there would be any in reinvestment in mass incarceration, especially when their evidence indicates that bipartisan criminal justice reform is something that's supported. We won't go for mass public reform. Rather, it just causes a decrease in number of cases run by prosecutors because prosecutorial offices don't have enough, which answers the Cohen card, how evidence says decriminalization. We won't go for that argument. The private prison argument doesn't make sense. Even if there are enough prisons, they still have to process the same number of people, which would be impossible given the resource constraints that are isolated, which are isolated by that. There's also no investment. There evidence that would cause economic reinvestment. And you say people get arrested and put in pre-trial jail indefinitely. Speedy trial rule and Sixth Amendment answer this because people can't be held in court for 6 months. Also, most misdemeanors don't require pre-trial detention, rather just require people to show up in courts, which answers the argument because vast majority of cases are. You've conceded the card at the bottom, which answers. You've conceded the card at the bottom, which answers states, which that only the federal prison population is staying the same, but states are going down, which means if we win no follow-on, it answers courts has had the politics has had court shield from politics. Clinton officially actively seek over controversial questions to circumvent legislative or political politics, accidental politicians shifting blame for controversial decisions of the court from secure relationship may preserve or huge structural advantages to the Democrats in both houses for the midterm sides. Well, 28 GOP majority defended by structural benefit from reliability. The need to special margin to overcome GOP. Many Republican voters typically more reliable. Cut the card to reliable. Skip the next card. Democratic wave guarantees. Skip that. Trump will pardon himself. No impeachment. Called 17. Chatter about impeachment started. Trump could attempt to solve the problem simply pardon himself. Trump has no personal risk. Nothing. The Constitution explicitly forbids no impeachment, even if them sleep. They don't have any evidence that would lead to a Senate conviction. They don't have any cards that it would suffer. Tracy 1217 talked to the press said we shouldn't do it with an action be seen a referendum to impeachment. Any efforts to impeachment would be as far as I'm starting to mind people in the swing district majority will be sure that next off on court politics interpretation negatively must be and on their argument we didn't specify who would vote for. Gorsuch votes against the plan, which means it doesn't get tied to Trump court politics. Interpretation negatively must be either unconditional dispositional status. They can only be if we're in violation CX standards statutes court imposed so it's 1 hour after you've been working on taps different makes the condition often limits my ability collapse, which was 1 hour away from in-depth defensive responses, quick terms and extension of freedom, cuts my ability to serve in depth advocacy comparison, and the 1 hour uniquely back as a 2 hour collapse is devastating. They get new hours in response to 1 hour assurance. They conceded but with 1 hour recourse means we get fairness to voters, we're often debate or complete interpretation, and no RBA, which means they can't challenge it. There are few benefits to our interpretation. They can't solve for precedent. We create a new precedent which the counterplan doesn't have. They also misspell uniquely in the plan text, which is the plan flaw, and we shouldn't vote on it. You don't know what the counterplan does. They also can't solve it. They'll only argument is federal follow-on, but their card doesn't warrant it. There's no reason why states would co-opt it. Their card just says the Supreme Court made similar difference prior, but there's no reason they believe in criminal justice reform. No reason they believe in criminal justice reform. Court hacking. No, you need to. Trump is packing the courts regardless. 2017, the confirmation 12th Circuit Court Judge Trump said a record of justice confirmed the president first year nothing, and in Trump's way, Matthews 11 to 94. Trump has Senate with no filibuster. Trump will have considerable power to use Republican Senate majority of courts. Politics are right if he's committed. There's little concern in this way. He has no evidence for econ growth, and there's no uniqueness or any conditions. He's missing internal links in his is that even if it hurts businesses, there's no reason to affect the economy. Case solves it is that even civic decisions become more safe when the plan means less chance for a judge makes its decision. B-point state courts appeal the firmer criminal case of federal and Trump can influence from using this case outweighs no link. It's not a work related problem, but motives are purely political. Sugarman 12-15. The judicial center showed humanity started to off in the last second. The late 70s workload crisis Congress responded by purpose in the statute not ideological, though prior bill passed majority Democratic stand judge should make mistakes and for the calibrating was an effort to seize ideological control.
Can you send me a cup?
Yeah. There's like enters in the dock down, so it's kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. How much time do you have?
3:14. Maybe theoretical objection on the count on the combo.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read those cards in court under court politics. Or under state, the Fitzpatrick cards. I didn't read those. I didn't take them out of it. Sorry.
Didn't you Fitzpatrick? You have Fitzpatrick cards.
Okay.
What are the responses to? Was this like the reason why follow one happens in the card?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there were other responses, but that was the response.
Wait, what were the other responses?
To the counter plan,
Yeah.
doesn't set a precedent.
Okay.
Plan flaw.
What's plan for again?
You misspelled uniformly.
Okay.
Federal courts outweigh. I think that was.
There's gonna be condo.
They're done.
Wait, what?
They're done.
Yeah, I'm saying that. There's gonna be condo, then states, then decide.
Which one?
Midterms.
Midterm. Got it. This time. Case. This case of them.
Probably not touch on base.
Okay.
If I do, it'll just be like. Is everyone good? Our interpretation of the name we run condo, this is best. One is info processing. Condo uses to think quickly and deal with overwhelming amounts of info. Most of your relative is tactical choices. Forces to waste forces to where to recognize strategic interactions for critical scope for practical advocacy, defense based on the inevitably of strategic components, self-time and strategy. And 3 is advocacy, constructive considering all opportunity costs, allows us to survive in the free market of ideas towards education. Next is ideological polarization, choosing conditional advocacy allows the one and to test the applicable perspectives at minimum this week and score. That's key to real world education. And A, ensuring the plan is tested from the right and left. And B, preventing the debate from turning stale. And ideological flexibility is the linchpin of democratic deliberation, introducing disjunctions and version on advice. Skip the card. Next status quo must always be logical options, key to our education advocacy skills to A, know the world around us, and B, be able to compare our hypotheticals, however abstract real world, key to real world education skills, inevitable speed. This has a T violations education outweighs, and it's only the only lasting impact debate on track reciprocity. 1, the NAG loses an equivalent part of the 1 and 2 when we can't have a strategy so long. The app covers utopically on conduit 0 impact on fairness, which makes it reciprocal. In turn, the app gets pros which are functionally conditional. When advocacy is going to have to prove the less desirable than advocacy of multiple pros means they get unlimited strategic flexibility to test the counterplan from several angles. So conduits test the app in the same way, key to reciprocity, which outweighs this is the definition of fairness. On clash, 1 collapse information overload and education will prefer and parents because they take every factor into account. And 2, the fairness defense and factor of both forcing collapse and condo means we outweigh specific education. 3, the alternative to the negative strategies played replacing one advocacy with another opposition, which means clash is evened out. And 4, out of education outweighs, which means our argument innovation arc comes first. Going on to the disad. Oh, sorry, counterplan. Going for the counterplan, he is concealed the argument for problems that the card doesn't say so. First of all, this card is pretty good. It talks about how when the court has made rules on rights and on universal rights on the state level, when cases are rejected at the state court, it goes to appeal and it goes to the Supreme Court. When there is a set conflict that the state courts don't have a jurisdiction rule on, which means that even if state courts are not completely 100% effective, that's the reason why there will be an appeal at the Supreme Court level and they will be incentivized to follow this sort of example. It gives LGBT marriage as a perfect example of how this has happened in the past. His argument is that it says in some cases that happen. These cases are on magnitude and very high level, rights-based or very important parts of the CTS study equality measure. You probably know it very quick examples of hard evidence for why follow-on doesn't actually happen, which means that if we win follow-on, there is only a year's worth of impact that the 1AC actually has coming out. 1AC actually has because we resulted the app plan anyway, which means that the 1AC gain solves the reason why the counterplan solves on follow-on. Also see trends and experience influence federal legislation from Osberger 99. When actual influence experience of many single views may be generalized based on program evaluations or trend in the state enterprise zones, HUD and NASDA, strictly summary information about the evaluation, research and experience of other states program, or program we call a summary professional organization service important channels of interstate policy diffusion. His other argument is that plan flaw because I will tell you informally, first of all, plan flaw is pretty bad. It's just because we don't write the exact legislation down and write down in the baby. If it was a Chinese topic, we don't write down in Chinese. That's the reason why the exact words of the legislation are the reason why you should reject the counterplan. Going on the also he also said that the state courts would have jurisdiction over federal prosecutors. First of all, state courts control the bar association, which means that they still have very good enforcement of the plan, and in fact they can debar prosecutors who violate the counterplan. Also, we saw because we mandate that plea bargaining not to be abolished with the criminal justice. That's independent of them voting on constitutional rights, but rather reason why we feel that the plea bargaining goes away. The same equivalent of the act plan, even if it's not a constitutional ruling, it's still a reason why we feel the fact that the plea bargaining is not is because the state courts have demanded on this ad. First, an overview. Midterms right now are very close to Depth can barely win the midterms right now, but any change causes losses right now. CDS performance is a bipartisan achievement, and that leads and divorce is just tied to Trump because these Democrats right now have been tied to Georgia, and also divorce has been tied to Trump is the reason why when the plan passes through the Supreme Court that it gets tied to Trump and the midterms election, which also means that the Democrats retake the House. That leads to Trump's impeachment for the GOP, and that causes that stops Trump causing nuclear war and existential risk, and also turns the case because massive countries can see the impact level of the Democrats. If we win 1% chance of a link or of a link, then that's the reason why you can still vote neg. He's argument that the Senate will not on the argument that he makes that Senate will not impeach Trump. First, control the House guarantees necessary oversight authority that would result in the impeachment. Cites Wall 17. It's interesting because they wouldn't just get the ability to block Republicans' legislative agenda would gain control of the Congress oversight, which they could use to dig into Trump. They would follow Trump with subpoenas. They have the power to go after every executive agency that is basically unlimited. And 2, House action will spur and as it says, Senate GOP to flip. Nelson 17. Trump's popularity shedding backing even among Republicans. Many would be much happier with President Trump and public actions for impeachment as a weapon of political combat. No sense of impeachment by the controlled House, perhaps alarming enough Republicans that a 2/3 majority for removal could be forced. Also, Trump cannot pardon. That's not how the legal system works. If a president gets charged, and that's the reason why he will still get impeached. Even then, it's still a reason why there's a huge legitimacy, which means that Trump doesn't have a reason Trump cannot pass his policies if he is at least charged with impeachment. The reason why there's still a perception of how Trump is a defector, which means that the rest of the Republican House and Senate will not react to Trump's policy and actually not follow what he's saying with this presidency, which means that he'll change his legitimacy, and a reason why he can't actually pass any more harmful policies, which is probably a reason why at the very least we saw for the mass incarceration to turn on this side. Also. He also says the question from politics. First of all, the evidence is picked up and talks about how Gorsuch, right after the midterm election, has been tied to Trump because when Gorsuch was appointed as a Supreme Court nominee, it was tied to Trump, and Trump was supporting Gorsuch, which means that vice versa, the same thing would still happen, and going on case. On the framing arguments, he has also conceded the gloss of evidence, which is the reason why, even if slow violence impacts are a problem, may come first. The reason why you should evaluate high probability impacts, at least have a chance of happening, which is the reason why, if we win the follow-on argument on the state's counterplan, that's the reason why there's a 1-year impact that the app actually has different from the negative. That's the reason why the 1% risk of this is the reason why you go negative the other way.
You sent me the wrong doc, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
did I? Oh, sorry. I think I sent the last round's too long.
Yeah. Could you?
Yeah, I'll resend it. Yeah, I'll resend it. So this should be the correct 2N?
What?
I said the correct 2N.
Okay.
Let me know if it's not. I don't know. Let's see what I can do.
I'll just start prep. I haven't gotten it yet, but. What was the response to structural advantages due to Dems? Besides wildcard?
What was that card?
The uniqueness takeout.
We like that.
Yeah. What was the answer?
Oh, we just argued that the plan is probably enough to link those
Okay.
things.
What's the answer to Trump will pardon himself?
You were
Since I said Trump won't be able to pass his policies.
One would probably be like that, that's probably not how it works. So he would probably still get impeached, or 2, because if he just ignores impeachment, that would probably take legitimacy and lead to other checks on Trump that would last, at the very least, even if it doesn't stop him from unilaterally causing nuclear war, which is probably still likely,
Sure.
it would at the very least stop him mass incarceration to advance.
Overview, case, courts, decide.
Where do you want the overview?
Case. Ready?
Yeah.
You've conceded cases as well as 2 carded takeouts to the disad, which means if we win any risk of a disad to the court supreme to the state court's counterclaim, then that's sufficient to affirm that half is able to stop the incarceration of hundreds of thousands of black and brown males at federal court levels. State courts are currently prosecuting less and less people, but federal prisons are increasing capacity, which is a reason if there is any skepticism or any risk no follow-on occurs, and if there's any risk no follow-on occurs, then they're not able to stop the incarceration of hundreds of thousands of black and brown males. They've conceded that half impacts necessarily outweigh. You should prioritize structural violence that occurs to everyone, even if they do run a minor risk of extinction. You should prioritize the half if we win a substantial impact, considering the size of the link that they've conceded. The court's counterclaim. And you should read their evidence on follow-on. It's pretty shitty. The first one is just correlation on causation. The second one is state legislation is modeled by the federal courts. There's no reason to believe that it actually would lead to follow-on. Even if it does, they've conceded. I take out that they're not able to set a precedent that's able to create equal protection challenges, which inevitably takes it out because they may be able to solve for things like plea bargaining, but they can't solve for broader disparities within the criminal justice system, which is a Cruise 93 argument, like crack cocaine sentencing disparities. They've also conceded that take out that their evidence is just correlation on causation. It says there have been times when rights are taken up, but there's no reason why the app specifically would. If we win any risk of a disad, they've literally conceded a uniqueness and link takeout on the disad. So any risk of these arguments, even if you think they have better cards, should be pretty easy to vote on the disad. You've conceded that Democrats will not win the House in the status quo. That's a side-swallowed evidence that was in the 1AR, and there's no response to it. That means there is no uniqueness for the dissat, and you can vote affirmative on a risk of offense. There's no reason. Your only argument is it would flip uniqueness, but there's no reason why passing the plan would only make them lose worse, but there's no reason why that leads to impeachment, especially since you say it needs to take a schmenking in order for it to cause impeachment. The second argument that you've conceded is courts don't link to politics. Your only argument is Gorsuch is tied to Trump, but you conceded that Gorsuch votes against the plan. You've conceded parted evidence that controversial decisions taken up by the courts are not sufficient in order to trigger the link to politics. There's no evidence, especially when all their link evidence is in the context of bipartisan reform passed by Congress and the President. There's no reason Trump would be able to take credit for it, which means that you've conceded both a uniqueness and link takeout that are 100% terminal defense and means any risk of the case outweighs. But we'll also go for Trump can pardon himself. It's a silly argument, but your only response is no, he can't. When our card says yes, he can. You should prefer carded evidence because it's written by legal scholars who know how to do. Your only response is it would lead to more checks on Trump and he wouldn't be able to pass his policy, which is probably a good thing considering the impact to your dissat is Trump. Considering the impact to your dissat is Trump bad. All of these arguments are sufficient to put a significant amount of defense on them. Yes, the 1AR might not have been great, but if you concede uniqueness takeouts and the courts don't link to politics, it's a pretty easy half ballot.